You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Indie Reviews with Gray, which means that I'm here with Gray from the Wakizashi Tea House. What is going on, Gray?
How's it going, Jim? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling all revved up. I feel like I need a sword in my hand at the moment.
Exactly. Now you're getting me revved up as well because we're going to be doing Conan the Barbarian #1. And I will tell everybody that it is written by Jim Zub. And recently, like last week, I ended up getting mad and yelling things about Jim Zub on the Comics Aficionado show. And somebody ended up telling Jim Zub about it. And he ended up watching it and then reached out to me and asked, well, what's going on? Why do you hate my guts? And we ended up talking about it. And here's the thing. Two things about me. I can hold a grudge like with the best of them. And even though Jim Zub didn't realize, me and him have been in a feud for about 4 years. So it was a one-sided feud, but it was still, to me, a grudge feud. He ended up reaching out to me. And I can also, the other thing, I think I can judge some people by how they react or talk or whatnot. Jim Zub actually felt very genuine in wondering what had happened, and then actually took the time to go back and look at the incident, realize that, yeah, maybe it did look a little worse than he thought at the time, and actually apologized. And I think that it was genuine, so I told him feud over. And so I figured me and you get together on a Friday morning to talk some comics, and, you know, voila, Jim Zub has a new comic out, this Conan the Barbarian. And also, he did send me a review copy, which was very nice as well, but said just for me to check it out because I told him I had ditched a lot of his books the past bunch of years because of this, feud. But it's nice to get back to some Jim Zub things and see that he is doing something here that seems like a labor of love, #1, but also shows that he knows the character of Conan and really has gotten a team together for this book that I think is pretty outstanding. And I think you'll agree with me, right?
Absolutely. I tell you what, Jim, I'm just glad that you didn't get into a tavern brawl with Jim Zub over this and that you managed to sort things out together. But yeah, this was so good. And I believe that Jim did actually write some of the previous, the Marvel
run. Yeah, the Marvel
which,
stuff. Yep, he did.
Yeah, the later on there. So great to see you writing this again.
When Jason Aaron stopped writing some things, he came in. But he has done some Conan stuff in the past. And he also does a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons, like fantasy stuff, it seems, is kind of one of his fortes. And it really does show. And it really is good. Before we even get into a classic review here, I will tell you that if you are wondering after this, hey, I wonder if this is something I would like. Maybe you haven't read a lot of Conan, maybe none. If you do want to get the feel of it, there is a free comic book day issue from Titan Books. If you can get a hold of that, I think that reading that, not that it's necessary, it's a little background. It's setting up Conan for people who may not know the character. But after reading that, I think that you can 100% know, okay, I will like this, or, hey, this isn't for me. But I don't think that you're going to say it's bad. Because first off, when you see this stuff, and it's Roberto de la Torre on art, there's nobody, I think, out there that could say it looks bad. I mean, it may look classic, but that's kind of what they're going with anyway. It looks fantastic. I think the art is incredible. It took me a bit to actually settle down and actually read what is on the page because of how good the art is, right?
I was the same, Jim, yeah. Almost distracting by how good it is. It reminds me of the old days of the 70s Savage Sword of Conan, John Buscema, that style. It's beautiful and it's very European too, isn't it?
Yeah, it does look very European, so it's fancy. That's what I think. You may have to read this with one pinky up, but I'll give you the credits here. Conan the Barbarian #1 is written by Jim Zub, art by Roberto de la Torre. It is published by Titan Books. It came out this week at $3.99. And just another bit of a shout out. It is colors by the villainous Jose Villarrubia, and the colors are incredible. They make the art. It's not even just like it pops. It just makes it feel right. Everything is done with such good detail. And then the lettering by Richard Starkings also has a classic look. And that's what I like about this when you get into it. The overall story, when you think about it by the end, it's kind of a basic setup. you end up having, Conan in a barroom brawl. He ends up mad because he's a mercenary. He's out and about with this gang, and he doesn't like the way things were going. A couple people died. He ends up, and they go back to a tavern. It's classic fantasy stuff, classic Conan stuff. But he has an issue with this leader, so-called leader, because they kind of like your cowardness and your nonsense ended up getting some people killed. And here you are drinking it up, thinking everything's fine. What about these people? And Conan, he beats the crap out of this guy. And I love the play here because it's a really good, cinematic type of cold open, just this barroom brawl. I like, though, that they do play by the rules here of, okay, Conan just beat up the leader. He's the leader. But if you do know Conan, he's not going to go for that. He's involved with this group. He's probably just getting one place and the next, but he's not going to end up leading this big gang. And I like that. Now, again, before we even really dive deeper into this, you even mentioned about the old stuff. Me and you both were talking beforehand. We're not lifelong Conan fans. We did read some stuff back in the day. I haven't read a lot of Conan since then. But even so, I can sit there and say, boy, this feels classic. This feels like Conan, right?
That's one of the things I was looking for, Jim, when I came into the comic. Because, like you say, I'm no expert at all. I've read a few tales in the past, a few comic books, but it's like, does he have the voice? What's the voice of Conan going to be like? And it sounds good to me. It was convincing. I was there. I wasn't pulled out of the story by modernisms, that kind of thing. What about you?
I'm with you. And you say that, it's funny. One of the things that kind of, not that I was reading a lot of the Marvel stuff, the recent stuff anyway, but once I saw, he's in the, Savage Avengers, he's mixing in with the regular, 616. It's kind of like, I don't really need that. But when you get to this and you get Titan getting the license and they're going to release this, all that, it does feel like you could have went, a bunch of different ways, but what Jim Zub and the team, they're going classic. Hey, everybody, if you read that stuff and kind of got turned off by the modern days, here you go. And you get classic. But in that, I think that Jim Zub does a good deal of not overdoing it either. It does really feel right. It feels like what I remember or what I kind of think I like about Conan. And one of the biggest compliments I could give it is that even though I haven't read a lot of Conan in the last decades and decades, I kind of wouldn't mind doing it. I know that I won't. I'll continue with this, but you get that feel of like, man, I want to jump back and do that. And you see little things that you kind of remember, like, oh yeah, that's kind of like that and things like that, even as somebody who isn't a huge lifelong fan. And I think that it does a good job. You asked me before we started, do you think that this is a good jumping on point for newer readers? And the only way I could explain it is that it is in a way that by the end, like I said about the Free Comic Book Day issue, I think by the end you'll realize if this is for you. You know what I mean? You get enough here, and the art and the story, the narration, you get a feel of, okay, this is something I'd like, or maybe it isn't. But I think that Jim Zub is not trying to win everybody over. I think that he's trying to just tell a classic tale that I think really Conan fans will really like, and maybe make some newer ones in a way that's realistic. It's not going to try to trick you into being a Conan fan. It's going to give you what and Conan's popular. You don't have to trick people in. So I think that he ends up doing a good job, get a fan base that is into this, not just try to play things up for that crowd or this crowd. This is for the Conan crowd through and through. Do you agree?
I do. And what you were saying, Jim, about the voice is good. I enjoyed the narration as well. There's a nice kind of distinction between the general narration of the story and then you got the Conan and the supporting characters' voices. It does feel classic. But as I say, I'm no expert, so, maybe it won't to everybody, but I would recommend this to beginners, to like seasoned Conan fans, and anybody who likes good kind of fantasy. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And again, you have a couple basic scenes, but because of the art and the narrative, it actually feels bigger than maybe what it is like an outline. Because you get Conan, he fights this guy. Guy gets the crap kicked out of him. Hey, Conan, you want to be the leader? Not really. Okay. And then nice enough of them, they end up saying, because Conan is kind of, going with the honor of these two compatriots, these two mercenaries that did get killed. And they say, hey, you take the money that they would have gotten. I'm like, that's a nice deal. That's cool. But he ends up like, there's Conan. He just wants to sit down. He wants to drink, have some food, maybe a lady with an eye patch. But then all of a sudden you hear this cry and they run out and, there's this crazy battle is about to begin because this lady comes in and yells, oh my God, they're coming. There's this horde and it's a zombie horde, like we said. And this is a picked lady. And if you go with all of the Conan stuff, you do have a bunch of different tribes, a bunch of different people, and that's one of the cool things about it. But really, Conan wants to get back home. He thinks to himself at that point, I'm closer to home than I've been in a while. Maybe I'll check back in, but that's interrupted by the zombie horde attack, which everybody could get on with. Me and you were talking, and you brought up a good point about, is this too big too soon? And you talk about that because maybe it is, but I don't know.
It is. It's like, what a way to start. You've got this huge enemy army from what we've heard. And the fact that they're undead, Jim, it's like, how are they going to fight them? Can they defeat them? Which makes this story so exciting because you see Conan, you see this lady, this picked woman as well, fighting against them. You see the villages. So yeah, there's a huge, you get a feeling of stakes, don't you? Right from the start.
Yeah, and it gets you. But like you said, is this too big too soon? But this
could be too much too soon. Yeah.
I like the idea that this zombie army, it's just kind of, fights, leaves. It's just taking over, destroying everything that gets in its way. And by the end of the issue, it has moved on and they have to kind of go find it and stuff. So maybe that's the play, that as they trail this zombie army, as they go to get it, more things will come up. And this woman, Brissa, I think is a good addition because Conan,
me too.
Not a real talker. And really, a lot of times Conan is, out and about by himself. So if he's going to sit there, he's just going to be narration of what he's thinking, what he's doing. This gives somebody else in there for him to talk to, or at least get talked to. He may not say a ton, but this Brissa goes and you start to get that mix of races and things like that. That is an important thing in the Conan stuff. And so she shows up and this zombie horde attacks. And unfortunately for this village, this outpost, it's a lot of what Conan says. Weary mercenaries and townsfolk, they get destroyed. And at one point, Conan actually thinks, I can get the heck out of here because even this Brissa is being overtaken. He's like, I can get out. But I like that Jim Sub gives you that honor that Conan has. He actually, fought the leader of their mercenary troop because of these two people that died. He didn't need to do that. He could have taken his money and just kept quiet. And then when this Brissa gets overtaken, he does save her, which gives them a bond because you have that. But then when I found out, when she really does explain that this zombie horde is her people, the Picts, I think that that's something that Conan can get behind because of how much he deals with, his homeland and things. And then things up again when she says, yeah, Samaria's in big trouble. Like, you're Sumerian, that's cool. But yeah, the zombies are already attacking there. And that gives you that big play at the end. Oh my God, we got to get there. That's going to be Conan, flipping out and going. And it does unfortunately say next issue, homeland destroyed. But yeah, you have, this whole play of really gritty looking, awesome art and a story that does kind of ease you in and then has this big thing to go forward. It actually does a good job of getting things going, I thought. How about you?
Me too. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking through it now. And Jim, there's one scene which really caught my eye. The moment where Conan, he beheads one of these zombie army creatures. Isn't it great? And what happens? The head, chomps on some poor guy's arm. It's like, oh my God, even death won't stop them.
I know. And that's the crazy thing. It's like Conan beheads the guy, and it's the worst thing that happens to this other guy. The guy's just defending the outpost, and this flying in zombie cursed head. And they don't necessarily say zombies in it. They're cursed. It's a curse. They look like zombies.
It's a Sam Raimi Evil Dead 2 moment, isn't it? It's classic. The flying head.
And it's one of those things where, and again, some of the things that I have read, with Jim Zub, he likes to put a little humor in it. He doesn't do as much here, but that's actually a hilarious scene.
It was a great scene.
It works, though, right? You end up beheading a guy, and then the zombie head chomps on a guy, and the guy's like, oh, my God, this is the worst day ever. Now, with that, we don't know the rules necessarily of what this means or what.
No,
when they end
yet.
up saying, when this Brissa says they're cursed, I kind of like that more than it just being straight up zombie rules.
Yeah,
because,
me too.
I think that that's a better play, and I like the way that fits in more in the fantasy motif. But yeah, this really, I can't say it enough. It looks great. And Jim Zub writing and knowing this. See, there's no way Jim Zub doesn't look at the art that's coming in here and not be, wowed by it. But he also lets a couple spread pages. Okay, we'll have just one little narration deal, because at that point, the star of the show is the art at points, and he allows that. And I think that that's a good thing, too. And I think that these two already show that they're working pretty well together, and it just looks fantastic. It's one of those books that I rarely say the price, of admission that the art is worth. I think it is. This is something that you could just go through and just look at the art. And
I do.
Really
it's
love
worth
it
just for the art, Jim, isn't it? The art alone is worth paying $3.99.
It's only $3.99 too.
Yeah,
I mean, I read this and I actually went then to look, thinking, "Oh, this is probably," and it ends up having a bunch of extra stuff at the end. It's a full comic, but. Yeah, and it's $3.99. I actually thought it was like $5.99.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be one of those $4 or $5.99. Yeah, it did surprise me, but looks great. So I'm into, keep on following in with this, because it did intrigue me, and not even just intrigue me. I actually had a smile on my face by the end of how classic it felt, but in a way that's a little more than an homage, but done in a really good way that, it just felt like something like a weird breath of fresh air by going so classic at this point in comics, where a lot of people are, upset about different things or whatnot. Why not go and jump into the Sumerian deal and Conan and all that? So I thought it was really good. What would you give it?
I agree. And I think this was announced over a year ago, so they've had all this time to work on it. You can see the love, the care, the craft that's been put into it. So, to summarize it, let's see. I wrote a quick review, Jim. I just said, this reminded me of reading comics when I was younger. The moments where you just get pulled into a story, the outside world fades away, you're deep in it. It's not a perfect issue. There are things that hopefully, will improve. Maybe the voice, maybe the threat's too big, but 8.5 out of 10 from me.
I'm the same thing. 8.5. I thought it was a really good start. The art was great. My big thing is just, you're throwing stuff in here, and it does really go brawl, then brawl, zombie invasion, let's go. And I need a little bit more of that, but I think that that's why I'm intrigued by this Brissa joining in, because that will expand things, and I think that you'll get some character moments. Again, Conan is Conan. You end up, there's not a ton of things that you're going to get new, in my mind, from a Conan story, because you kind of get that whole deal of what he is. And he's such a big, iconic character that the other characters joining in, I think that's what makes things really, really interesting. And I'm telling you, the art with this Brissa and just a little bit that we get with her, kind of like, she's kind of a gem. I really like her. She's tough. She's going in. I thought that was a really good character. So that is a really cool deal. But yeah, both 8.5s from us. So yeah, one of the better books I read this week. Definitely. So check it out. And again, as we leave here, I will let you know, go to Gray's channel, the Wakazashi's Tea House. He had already done a review of this on his channel. I asked him if he'd be nice enough to join me to go through this again. And you said yes, so I thank you. But check out Gray's channel. I'll have the link in the description of this video. But also, if you are on the fence still, and like when you watch this video, just look at the art. But if you're still not convinced, get that free Comic Book Day issue, and I think by the end you'll know if it's for you or not. I think that that's the best and easiest way to jump in. But there we go. I actually thought this was going to be about 8 minutes, but like everything that me and you do together, we start yipping and yapping. But yeah, thanks everybody. Thank you for joining me once again, Gray. And actually, if Jim Zub ever does see this, thanks for sending the review copy and getting rid of the vicious feud
Nice one,
we were
Jim.
in
No
that
need for a tavern brawl with Jim. Jim
he
and Jim.
didn't know. All gyms should get along, is what I think. And
Come
the
on.
idea, it's one of those, it's easy to be mad at somebody before you meet them or never meet them. I have a feeling that Jim Sub's a good enough guy that I would feel bad even more if I ended up meeting him.
You Jim's got to stick together, Jim. Come on.
It is true. I wonder, obviously, his name is Jim, my name is Jim, and I would love to know if he had the problem when I was growing up. If my dad would be mad at me, even my mom, they would call me James, and I knew that was problem.
That's
so if I hear
trouble.
James, I'm like, I run. Also, I would think that Jim Zub has the same deal. If anybody calls on the phone and asks for James, hey, is James Zub there? You know that's nobody you want to talk to.
Uh-oh.
You're like, okay, this is some crazy stuff. No, he's not here. You hang up. So I'll have to see if that's the case. But thanks, everybody. Thanks once again, Gray. And I'll talk to you and Gray as well later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.